Jalen Hurts needs to play better. Kevin Patullo needs to do a better job scheming some things up. Saquon Barkley, I just think he is who he is at this point. Like, when you give a running back 450 carries in a season, this is what you're going to get. I want to talk about the Eagles coming out of this game, because blowing a 21-point lead, that's just rough. Like, that's something that you just can't get past. And when you talk about some of the noise coming into this game, when it comes to some of the offensive struggles, I hear that. But is it that surprising that the Eagles offense is performing like it is? Now, don't get me wrong. I think that they are an extremely talented unit. They have a lot of high-level players. But let's look at their recent draft history ever since 2022. 2022, you draft Jordan Davis in the first round. 2023, you draft Carter and Nolan Smith with your first two picks. 24, you add Mitchell and DeJean. 2025, your first two picks are Jihad Campbell and Andrew Makuba. So their defense is the unit that's really getting a lot of the draft assets put on that side of the ball. And to their credit, they're hitting on these guys because they're all playing. I don't think I listed a single bad player out of the players that I just mentioned. So it's not surprising to me when you look at their draft history that their defense is so damn good and their offense has been as underwhelming as it is. Now, there's some things that need to be better, right? Jalen Hurts needs to play better. Kevin Patullo needs to do a better job scheming some things up. Saquon Barkley, I just think he is who he is at this point. Like, when you give a running back 450 carries in a season, this is what you're going to get. Like, what did people expect from Saquon Barkley this year? I expected not this. I expected him to be a little better, but a drastic drop-off from last season. I mean, that was one of the best running back seasons that we've ever seen. I mean, he is, I think, 28 years old. That's a position that you don't necessarily get a lot of years out of. This isn't defensive tackle or offensive line or quarterback where you could play those positions into your mid-30s, into your 40s. You can't do that at running back. So Saquon Barkley was a big piece of their offense last year. They gave him a lot of carries. They gave him a lot of touches over the air as well. It's just a lot to ask for a running back that has an injury history with that many carries to continue to play at a high level. Yeah, he does not look explosive as he did last year, not even close, but that was to be expected. So that's where, like, when I looked at the Eagles pass game last year, I'm like, they need to do a better job throwing the football. People were telling me, hey, they're finding ways to win games. And to their credit, they won a Super Bowl, and you can't take that away from them. But at the same time, when it comes to the longevity of a player, I looked at that and I said, no, you got to throw the ball a little more here. Because if you're going to give your running back this many carries, it's going to eventually catch up to him. And it's caught up to him. I get it. The offensive line isn't playing as well. But this is Saquon Barkley. He's played with some bad offensive lines, and he's been very productive. You go back to that 2022 season, it's not like the Giants had a great offensive line, but he was still able to make things happen because he is one of the most talented players in the game, regardless of position. He's not that anymore, though. He's somebody who's worn down, and I think that's the thing coming out of this game. It's just hard to maintain that, and they paid him over the offseason, and I didn't agree with paying him. Because I get it, and I respect this about the Eagles organization, is that they're going to pay their guys, and they're going to pay them early. But at the same time, it does come back to bite you in the butt when you talk about potentially, seeing your players like a Saquon Barkley one day just not be the same guy. And you're on the hook for their money for the next few years here. I mean, this kind of reminds me, now it's different in a way because, he didn't get the type of contract that this guy got, but it's reminiscent to what we saw with Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys, right? Where, obviously 2018, he had 3 really good seasons, Ezekiel Elliott did, and they signed him. And then immediately when they signed him, the play dropped off. And that's what I think we're seeing with Saquon Barkley here. And I do think that them not being able to run the ball, that is big. And that's something that, that needs to be talked about because they're not doing a good job running the ball there. And it's hurting their football team. And there's just no doubt about that. So, when I look at this Eagles team, again, you know what they are. They're a team, they're not explosive on offense. They don't put up a lot of points offensively, but they're a team that defensively is going to play very well. But when you look around the NFC, there's teams that play offense really well and they play defense very well. So when you stack this team up and compare them to the rest of the conference, then you start to run into some trouble here because are they better than the Rams? I don't think so. Are they better than the Seahawks? I don't think so. And then after that, you could put Philly at 3. But I look at those two teams that I put ahead of them, and I just say they're good on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And look, I'm just going to say this right now. If Dallas sneaks into the playoffs, I don't think Philly wants to see them round 1. I just don't think that. Dallas does not look at Philly and look at them and say, we're scared of this team. They don't look at them like that. They look at them and they say, oh no, we played this team plenty of times. We know what they're about. We know what they are. We respect them. They're a really good football team, but we can beat this team. And you saw that's the mentality that they had yesterday, which is why when they went down 21 points, they were just like, all right, we're cool here. And they ended up coming back and winning the game. So a lot of storylines coming out of this game, both for the Cowboys and the Eagles.